We're covering self-contained recovery on small appliances for the EPA 608 exam, specifically focusing on the 90% standard. A self-contained or active recovery machine has its own internal compressor to pull refrigerant out of a system. This makes it independent of the appliance's compressor and allows it to work on any size system, from a small window unit to a large commercial chiller. The exam will test you on the specific performance standards for this equipment. According to EPA regulations under 40 CFR Part 82, Subpart F, recovery equipment used for small appliances must be certified to capture 90% of the refrigerant when the appliance's compressor is functional. This is a critical number to remember. The most common exam trap is confusing this 90% standard with the 80% standard. The 80% rule applies only when recovering from a small appliance where the compressor is inoperative, or when using a passive, system-dependent recovery method. An exam question might describe a scenario where a technician uses a self-contained unit on a refrigerator with a working compressor and ask for the required recovery efficiency. The answer is 90%. If the same scenario described a broken compressor, the answer would be 80%. Another major point of confusion the exam exploits is the difference between the recovery machine's efficiency percentage and the required vacuum level in the field. The 90% and 80% figures are certification standards for the equipment itself. However, before a technician can open a system for service, they must actually recover the refrigerant until the pressure reaches 0 psig, or, more specifically, a 4-inch mercury vacuum. Be prepared for questions that offer both percentages and vacuum levels as answer choices to see if you can distinguish between machine capability and field procedure. For example, a technician using a self-contained machine on a functioning window AC unit must use equipment certified to recover 90%, but their on-site goal is to pull down to a 4-inch vacuum before cutting the lines. While passive recovery is allowed on small appliances, self-contained recovery is much faster and more reliable, making it the preferred professional method. It is the only method permitted on any appliance containing more than 15 pounds of refrigerant. To help remember the difference, use this phrase: active and able gets you to 90. The active self-contained machine is more able, so it meets the higher 90% standard. Passive methods, often used when the system is broken, only need to reach the lower 80% standard. Finally, don't forget the universal rules that always apply and are frequently tested. Always use low-loss fittings, purge air from your hoses before recovery, and never overfill your recovery cylinder, which means keeping it on a scale and not exceeding 80% of its water capacity by weight. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's OpenExamPrep, all one word, .com.